In the top 5. Well, here he is, top 10 pick going to the Atlanta Hawks.
We talk about John Morant, unranked out of high school, Jarrett Culver, 312th, and what they did to overcome. Cam Reddish is evidence that if you are highly viewed as a 17-year-old and you play 1 year in college and you play particularly at a high-profile school, the chances of you maintaining that status are pretty good. Cam Reddish didn't do anything at Duke, in my opinion, to establish and validate himself as a top 10 pick or not even a top 15 pick. Shot 33% from 3, 39% from 2, had an offensive rating of 96. That's well below par there. Nevertheless, Atlanta thinks that he's going to sidle up nicely with Kevin Huerter, Trae Young, and hope that he can develop into something. I don't discount the possibility for Cam Reddish to grow into a very good NBA player. I would wager against it. I just have not seen it yet. It might happen. Maybe it takes Cam Reddish until he's 22 or 23 years old to bloom into the kind of player that people think that he will be. But to this point, I've always felt that he has been one of the more overhyped prospects of the past 2 or 3 years.
Let me start by saying that I leave open the opportunity, possibility that Cam Reddish could develop into something worthy of a top 10 pick, maybe even an all-star. That said, there's no way I'd take him in the top 10 for a lot of the reasons Matt just said. When you talk to people about him, well, what is he? Oh, well, he's a 6'8" wing who can really shoot it. Except he doesn't ever make them. Like, what good is it if you can shoot it a lot but don't make them? He wasn't effective inside the arc either. He pulled himself out of an NCAA tournament game that he was scheduled to start because of a knee issue that the trainers had not identified. That's a huge red flag to me. And then I mentioned this earlier tonight, but I think it's hugely important. Chris Patola, who's a college basketball analyst and friend of mine, was on radio today in North Carolina. He was asked about Cam Reddish, and he said he takes a lot of three-pointers, but why does he never make them? If he's such a good athlete, why doesn't he finish at the rim? I just don't know what he does on the court. And that might not mean anything coming from Matt or me or most people. Chris Patola is Mike Krzyzewski's son-in-law. Do you think there's any scenario where Chris is saying that unless he got that idea from Coach K himself? If that's what Mike Krzyzewski thinks of Cam Reddish, and I would assume that it is, that's a huge red flag for me. I wouldn't take him in the top 10.
Could this, though, be a product of playing in the shadow of Zion Williamson and R.J. Barrett? Like, he goes out on his own, and now he's going to play alongside DeAndre Hunter, but now he's not playing under that massive shadow of Zion and R.J. Maybe he goes out and he becomes a really good basketball player in the NBA.
That's the argument in favor of him. Had he just been somewhere else, not playing next to Zion and R.J., he would have become the star that everybody thought he might be. And perhaps that's true, but listen, just look at the NBA. Kevin Durant's the star. Steph Curry's the star. Klay Thompson still gets his games every once in a while. Draymond still gets his games every once in a while. Cam Reddish didn't really do that at Duke. He was largely invisible for big portions of games and big portions of the season. Again, he is undeniably gifted, very, very young, has the ability to develop into something nice. But he was not nice in his 1 year at Duke. He wasn't that nice in his high school career. If he's going to be a star, an actual on-the-court star in basketball games in the NBA, he'll have to do something that he's never done before.
Reed, Cam Reddish to the Atlanta Hawks. Do you like this pick, or is this a reach?
I love it, especially at number 10. There are not going to be many more divisive picks during this draft than Cam Reddish going at number 10. And this is one of these picks that I'm completely on the other side of Gary and Matt. And here's why. Look, Travis Schlenk, the Atlanta Hawks GM, remember, he built the Golden State Warriors dynasty. He was a huge part of finding these guys. These guys were kind of wacky basketball players that didn't seem to quite fit. He clearly sees something in prospects that normal people like you and me don't always see. What is it that he's seeing in Cam Reddish? Well, look, he's certainly not seeing consistency during his one season at Duke, but there were definitely bursts of brilliance. Is he looking at the fact that that Cam Reddish had a core problem and had underwent surgery after the season? Could that be a reason why he shot less than 40% from the two-point range? I think that is entirely possible. When you look at Cam Reddish, this is a boom-bust prospect. I'm just much higher on the boom side of him, especially when you're picking at number 10 than most people.